I'm not recording.
we're
I'm
already
not
live.
recording.
So I just want to
No.
tell everybody watching on YouTube. So we're trying to sync our audio recording, and Jake goes, and we'll go on 1, 3, 2, 1. And it just,
But
you
you just
can't
snapped
say
again.
1 because I thought you were messing with me, and I snapped at the wrong time. And now I'm going to snap in a whole different way.
Wow.
It feels like it's already happened.
Mm.
Let us snap at the end of this counting sequence. 3, 2, 1.
See, was that so hard? Except my snap was
Yes.
really bad. So
Oh.
can we do one more?
You want to do a third one?
My snap is like barely
Okay.
noticeable on this
Hold
waveform.
on. And speeding.
So Becca, you've been recording for like 2 minutes though?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
I forgot.
This is not a bit.
All right, everybody. Okay, we're gonna keep the video of this because this is all Patreon material. But we are re-recording your audio right now.
You don't have a
Stop.
choice. I hit start broadcast, and so
No, that's
it
fine.
is what it is.
Yeah, that's fine. But you should restart your audio recording.
But this is great podcast content too, Jake.
Well, I've deleted.
I've deleted mine as well.
Well, you'll just have to
this.
work from mine.
What I will do is I will call you and put it on speakerphone, so you have to listen to it as well as we edit through it.
Okay, I'll start a new recording.
Oh
Please,
no!
Dad,
Once I
it's
invade
on.
your time,
Okay.
it's like making you smoke the whole pack of cigarettes. I have to listen to myself for the whole pack.
Speeding.
Speeding. 3, 2, 1. Remember when you forgot?
That may be new and weird to you guys, but that happens all the time in here. Where am I? Anyway, welcome to Boldly Watch, new and
Hey.
improved with pink hair.
Yeah.
I have pink hair now. You don't
Well,
know
you
if
had
you listen
it-
to the podcast.
No, but didn't you have it on a filter last time as well? So you had pink hair on the
right.
last
yeah, we
recording.
did
So
talk
that you
about
were
it.
ready for, because this was planned. It was
It's
premeditated
more
pink.
Yeah, it was premeditated.
I think what's more about this recording is that it's a Friday recording. It feels very different than our usual day of
It
recording.
does.
I woke up and I did yoga and I
I did
checked on my
too.
candles and I made candles.
Oh wow,
I
So
checked
it
on my
really feels
candles
like a
in their
Friday.
candle nursery. Hello, little babies.
it's made out of people.
They're people candles.
You can use any kind of fat
Yeah.
to create a candle.
Then I fought my alter ego physically.
Yeah. So it's been a big day. Killed the real Becca. Now I'm here, pink hair Becca,
Right.
Oh,
and
this
ready
is
to
an
talk about my favorite episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation ever of all time.
ever of all time. Wow,
It's
that's
the-
great. Yeah.
Okay, ever of all time up to season 3, episode 4.
Well, that
Which
you've
is where
seen.
we
No,
are now.
all time that you've seen. I understand. Yeah, yeah.
That I've seen in our specific watch through. And just want to say, if someone said, show me the one episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation that encapsulates all of what the show is. Oh, baby, let me show you 304, Who Watches the Watchers.
Ooh, it's the title.
Great introduction, Becca. That's right. It's episode 304. Who watches the Watchers? The Enterprise must undo the damage when a primitive civilization discovers a Federation observation team and concludes that the Starfleet personnel are gods.
It confirms that they are.
Yeah. This is the quickest forming of a fundamentalist religion I have ever seen, and it's so impressive.
Well, when you're working at that proto-Vulcan logic.
Yeah,
one
they
thing
just
leads to
accelerate
another.
it, right?
Mhm.
They accelerate everything. I cried 3 times. The first time was thinking of this in comparison to the devoutly religious people in my family and how their worldview seems to be so warped by this hyper focus on a deity
And how
that
it gets so far removed from the core issue of I care about you and I care about us.
Exactly. And it's pretty bold in today's politics for a show to say an advanced society doesn't need religion, they need logic. They don't believe in ghosts, they don't believe in any of this nonsense. We don't read the stars. As someone who
Right.
enjoys astrology,
Sure.
I was like, "Ooh, somebody would get mad at that."
That's such a Virgo
But it
thing to
is
say.
not science.
No.
It's not science. It's not science. It's bullshit that makes us feel good and fluffy inside. All of it.
Correct.
And the show calls that out in a way that is crazy to me, as because it was a mainstream show. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well said.
On broadcast television too. But I feel like Star Trek was one of those shows that could get away with a lot of that criticism because it couched it in an alternate civilization, right?
Yeah.
So
And
it's
Hollywood's
clearly-
always been an instrument of the left, spouting their science and other radical concepts like that.
Well,
But this-
go ahead.
This is what you hope Star Trek will be. Like, this is like a direct parable using alien species, to tell the story. And even comes back to it, not to jump to the end, but he says the reason that we observe them is we learn about ourselves from where we came from.
Yeah.
About this development. So I think this is the best case scenario of what you can use Star Trek for. And we have seen some of the worst case scenarios where they tried, but boy did they miss.
It
Yeah.
makes me want to cry again, just in the way that you phrased it, because it is that perfect mix of we don't know better than you. We just
Right.
are further along than you.
Right.
We're further along the same journey. Like I love the
It's the same
Picard
journey.
speech where he's explaining how they went the same route in history.
What a
They're
good
just on a
message.
different point.
We should talk
Yeah.
more about that speech, but in a more chronological episode way.
Sure.
Before
we do,
as we chronologically do this though, Becca, I want to have Xander and I guess which scenes you cried at.
Okay.
Ooh.
yeah, there was 3, and I already told you one. But also a shout out to our sponsor, Boy Bands of the 90s,
Yeah.
that sponsored Xander's new haircut.
Thank you.
It's not just a middle part; it's
Nope.
been purplized and
Full
has
bowl
the
cut.
bold cut side shave.
Right, because I
Yeah.
just had a razor and no self-control.
Well, in a 90s boy band, the guy who had the side shave with the purple hair was kind of the wild one of the group, right?
I am the wild one
Of this group, unquestionably.
of this group, sure.
Well,
know.
everything's relative.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a cat.
I mean, I have the non-colored hair, so am I the wild one? I don't think so.
Maybe you're rebelling by not...
Being normal?
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to see the Star Trek episode that is a culture where everyone is so rebellious and off the wall that the real oddballs are the
Are the
normies.
The normies.
Yeah.
Were you about to say normies too, Xander?
Also, yes, 100%.
I love that we wild ones knew the right word specifically.
All 3 wild ones.
Actually, Jake's a normie, relatively speaking.
Right.
I can barely understand your guys' lingo. This is so foreign to my normal ears.
This
Speaking
is my
of-
favorite podcast.
Same. So speaking of foreign to normal ears, we have anthropologists studying a civilization, a proto-Vulcan civilization, and the Enterprise is on their way to go help them with their reactor, which is breaking down, which does their
Hold
duct
on.
blind, right?
Why would they need such a gigantic reactor
For like
to
a
power a
phaser
small
array?
station? Could it be? Could it be? That's one possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, this could power a whole town.
Or the
Or-
third reason.
Jordy will get to it. He'll get there. Let him talk it out on his own. And he got there.
A holographic
hologram.
projector, yeah.
I love that Troy is just sitting behind him and kind of smirking because she knew the answer the whole time and she just let him get there.
That's how you can
silly
tell a good
engineer.
counselor.
Yeah.
But when we are en route, we actually get a message from them trying to get an update on the situation, and then an explosion happens.
These consoles are not regulated.
This is a
Not at
nightmare.
all.
Watching someone explode on screen, and there's nothing that you can do except go to Warp 9.
Go to Warp 9. Plus, at the time, computers, the home computer was still like a relatively new thing. And one of the big fears was that it would just explode in this ball
Yeah.
of flame.
You don't
Like
have that fear anymore?
Oh, well, I've come close.
Hey, in the VOD, can somebody edit in an explosion on my face? I regret saying that phrase.
Ooh.
It's a joke because we don't hire an editor for this.
Star Trek is known for having like consoles and different technician stations just like explode and like presumably a launch pad take the actor like a full 10 feet away.
It's like the only way to do action.
Right? Yeah. Like
the best way to do action is to have a ground level window on the edge of a steep cliff and then throw yourself sideways out this like Flintstones window that doesn't even have a pane of glass. And then you just fall and roll down the cliffside.
It was like a standing roll too. He was kind of spinning as he went.
I
right?
bet that was a rough day of filming. I can only imagine.
Fun fact:
not one but two bodies have to bounce down this cliff today.
Fun fact about that filming: so it was at Vasquez Rocks, the
yes,
location
it was.
that Xander and I were
spotted
mentioning.
right away.
A mere 30 minutes outside of Los Angeles. If you ever want to go hike and visit, it's pretty cool. Additionally,
or go around and feel the rocks to see if any aliens are spying on our civilization.
It could happen.
They would choose that place for irony for sure.
Yeah.
Additionally, it was so hot that day that they had a pretty sweaty day of filming. But because of all of the snakes and scorpions, they weren't allowed to wear things that had scent. So no one was allowed to wear deodorant or perfume.
Oh no!
Gosh.
I forgot to wear deodorant yesterday, and it was a downhill from the very beginning kind of day.
I did think that was like an interesting factoid, but both of you acted with revulsion. Like, oh
Just
no!
Just imagine
coworkers,
everyone.
Yeah,
Is that enough?
it was all stinky.
uniform or prosthetic makeup. Are you
Yeah.
kidding? No
I
way.
mean, usually you don't notice that much when other people aren't wearing deodorant because they'll probably keep their arms down or whatever.
Yeah.
But you notice when you smell
Yeah.
because you
That's
couldn't
the
wear
worst.
deodorant. And then if everyone is experiencing that on the set, what a miserable set.
Yeah. And your stench is worse to other people than it is to you too, right?
Oh my God, Sir Patrick
Unless
Stewart.
you love
was he
people.
ever there? No, he wasn't there, right?
Yeah, he was. He
was?
was totally there. Remember the ending where he has like his little arm in a sling?
Oh
yeah, he got there.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. Hey,
How
can we talk
embarrassing.
about, do you guys find, of course we all like our own weird smells that our body makes because that's science. Do you find that you learn to like other people's weird smells?
I'm afraid of commitment and haven't been in a relationship long enough to know.
Okay,
like
well, right to Xander if you're single and ready to mingle.
Do not do that.
And if you wear deodorant.
Okay, well.
Give him your
that.
top
I like
10
David
smells.
Sint. I'm just going to say that. He won't wear deodorant. I keep buying it for him, but it's okay.
Wait, he won't wear deodorant?
No. He
I
thinks
like-
a shower a day is an adequate substitute. I
My
don't
armpits
shower every day.
Are not like that. I do shower most days. But I absolutely like Katie's smell, but everybody has certain smells, right? Like just the morning smell for anyone isn't really that great.
I don't know. I like my own armpit smell first thing in the morning.
What?
I love it. I love the smell of my own BO. You know when you just smell it and you're like, oh, that's ripe. That stinks.
Ooh.
No, I don't know if I share that. But of course, I'm a normie, so what do I know?
Us wild things love our own stench.
I get up in the morning like this. Let's do it.
I definitely have I need a deodorant.
That's funny because actually before this recording, I needed deodorant. And I was like, I can't have this meeting without deodorant on.
Right,
Even though you
even
guys can't
though-
smell me, but I stink. I can't.
You don't feel your freshest,
I
though.
can't feel productive.
I was late for a Zoom yesterday, and so I just I literally threw on the first thing I found because I had to remove the robe that I had been lounging in drinking coffee, and then it was like, well, now I'm dressed and I've already stunk up this piece of clothing, therefore
Right.
I never remember to
laundry
go back and do
sacrifice.
deodorant. Yeah, there's one opportunity per day. Anyway, I'm glad. Let's make this a bonus episode just talking about our deodorant usage. We can cut this out and place it elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the duck blind gets discovered, and we have
Right.
to. So yeah, these proto Vulcans discover it, right? And so we have to evacuate the technicians. One of whom, as Becca mentions, fall/tumble/spun down the cliff, and got lost in a cave. I don't actually see what happened to him. He just kind
Dr.
of disappeared,
Palmer.
right?
I think knowing as a professional anthropologist studying this culture, and when his home base was about to explode, he went and hid in a cave, and then
Yeah.
he passed out for several days, I guess.
Makes sense.
He was way more burnt when we found him later than he was when he fell out of the about to explode building.
Yeah, it was also like a silverish burnt. He kind of looked like a Tin Man who hadn't gotten it all off after rehearsal or after the show.
They didn't
Blame the makeup, people.
Yeah, they didn't take reference pictures, so they just kind of guessed.
Well, actually, real quick, did you guys think Data's makeup was weird in this episode?
Yes. And
Okay,
also,
I did too,
they
right?
Didn't
Like,
get in the waterline of his eyes, so the liner looked a little
it
off.
looked really fake in this episode. I
Yeah.
thought it like
They
way
must-
more than normal.
He was barely in the episode,
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
true.
they were
did a
running
rush
low in their jar of yellow makeup, and so they were like, "It's fine. We'll just cut his lines."
The jar's low, so we'll cut his line. The jar.
Well, they couldn't just ship it in 1-day shipping back then.
Do we have time to run to Costco before? Okay.
Ah, man, there
That's
is
where
no
they keep it.
Costco. Oh no. Well, in the base, we beam down Crusher, Geordi, Riker, Data, Getaway Team, and handsome nurse man.
Mhm.
We find out his name is Martinez.
Yeah.
And I just thought, is he gonna get a line? Is he gonna get that line?
Too much
Nope,
to
he's
ask
not.
for.
We get a Crusher bending down next to him and saying, "Please beam up, Martinez and patient 0."
Well, yeah, before that, I wanted to call out that Geordi's job here to repair this thing was to put this metal cylinder down. But take your time. Like, really rotate it, examine it from all angles, and then slowly set it down. And okay.
Only a professional can do that.
Yeah.
Michael Braveheart is Martinez's name, by the
Oh.
way.
What is he Native American? It's like the coolest last name ever.
I believe he is. Yes, he is an actor of Native American descent, as a matter of fact. He's a prominent background actor in Star Trek. He is also a background actor in other episodes of Next Gen. He is in Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and 2 Star Trek films.
Nice.
Oh, damn. Okay,
That's
Braveheart.
a good track record.
So yeah, he's got a impressive Star Trek resume.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I love that that's his specialty.
I know, right? There's a few
You
of the
could
people
be a
like
background
that.
actor in anything, but it's like, I'm sorry, I'm a Star Trek
Trek.
universe background
Yeah,
actor.
yeah.
Well, I think there are several that are like that.
Mhm.
The nurse that was working on the doctor who was kind of freaking out in the beginning is also, I think, was seduced by the outrageous Okana as well. Like you see
Oh,
different people
yeah.
being the same person. Also, like I think a lot of them act as stand-ins for the real actors too, so they kind of
Mhm.
double that usage.
Well, I hope they get double pay for
Right?
that.
That's what I was
Also,
thinking.
I just said the stand-ins for the real actors, and I did not mean to say that. I meant
ouch,
for the
Jake,
principal
ouch.
actors.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So for all you actors
Okay?
out there,
You mean us
You get it.
actors who don't
Yeah.
get booked on shows,
yeah,
but we're
all three of
still
us.
actors.
I mean, I get it.
Anyway, you're watching our podcast, so we're stars
Watch it.
here.
All right.
Oh,
Then
thank
the
you.
doctor, or the Liko, is that his name? The father,
Liko.
he gets transported up because his injuries from peeking in and then falling down the cliff off the cliff.
yeah.
Okay, so
Too
wait,
heavy.
why'd they make a force field protected base? Like
Oh, it
in
was
case anybody.
malfunctioning.
Oh.
So they were fixing this power stuff.
And if it malfunctions, then it's like rubbing your socks and then touching a doorknob, and then you get shocked, and you also roll
You think
down.
he got a little
Rocky
shock of
Hill.
static electricity and then
Yeah, it's like,
flew
what?
off the cliff?
Yeah, I think so.
I
But
didn't
his
look it up.
daughter, did we ever catch her name?
Yeah.
Nuri?
Anyway.
No, Nuri is the other woman. It was Oji.
Yeah.
Oji.
It's like Oshi.
But
Oji.
I could have looked it up and I didn't. But this is the guy that plays Leland in Twin Peaks, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
His name is Ray Wise. He's also in
Yes.
RoboCop.
Right.
There's actually a lot of kind of famous actors. I don't know if you recognize Oji, but that's Pamela Segal, I think is her name. How do you pronounce her last name? Yeah, Pamela Segal. She is she has like her own show on FX now.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
She's great. She's a really wonderful comedian. Actually, that's her. That might be her maiden name. One sec. Let me double check. I feel
Well,
like it's
airing.
Pamela Adlin. That's how I know her. I was
Oh,
like, that doesn't
okay.
seem like her real name. She's Better Things is her show that she runs on FX.
Oh.
You would recognize her. She's a great comedian too.
Wait a minute.
I didn't recognize her in the show until I saw.
She's in Californication. That woman.
Maybe.
Yeah, she was
Yes.
like
Yes. And she was in Louis.
Character.
Yeah, she's like the main love
Holy
interest for
crap.
Louis in the
No.
Yeah, I know. I
That
didn't
was
recognize her,
her?
right? Mhm.
I've got to watch the whole thing again. I mean, I'm sure she had prosthetics
Well, that makeup's
on.
yeah. Well, yeah, she did. She had those
Yeah,
proto
there's
Vulcan
this-
prosthetics.
You couldn't even recognize Marina Sirtis
Yeah.
as
Right.
Theodore Troy dressed up as Mintakin.
So, like, the
Yeah.
production value of this episode, I thought, again, I'm gonna say this, I guess, in every episode of episode 3, but like, I really feel they turned it
Yeah.
up, and like those two, like Riker and Deanna Troy, looked like different people. It was
Yeah,
really
it was
pretty
really
impressive,
good.
and it was a good
Riker's,
use of
Riker's
that.
still Riker.
But it was
The
still a
Riker
good.
shone through.
I mean, the beard is still there. You can't deny that. But like, it still feels like it shows the cosmetic surgery procedure that they would go under. It feels kind of real, like they could just
Yeah.
become those people.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
the reason
So
that I brought it up is because later on, Palmer was like the scientist that went missing, and who killed Laura Palmer was like the big thing for Twin Peaks. So I wondered if it was like a throw to them.
I doubt it.
To the character, maybe not. Probably.
Probably just
Coincidence.
coincidence. But
Yeah.
but
that's
is there
good
really
observation.
coincidence? Because
Is this what the
I was going to make a
overseer would
QAnon
want?
reference.
This is
and-
what the overseer would want.
Okay, so quick plot recap. This Matakan girl, she is a smarty pants. Everybody in this culture is a smarty pants, even though they're in the Bronze Age. She is the official record keeper appointed by her
right.
community to get those measurements. And Dad is proud. Mom would have been proud. Oh, important plot point.
She died in a flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were. Though that was the plot
I
point.
don't know.
thought
That
you
was
were
all the
prepping.
plot I was going to do for then, so we could
Oh.
discuss.
Great, thank you. Cool. So yes,
And
and
we
so
come back to that later. It becomes important.
right, because there's something that they're missing, and so when Liko sees Picard when he's up in sickbay and gains consciousness and hears Picard giving orders to people, he assumes he is some authority figure in like a celestial realm, right? So when he's returned and unharmed, he has all these conclusions about the ancient beliefs of his society must be true. Wow, like okay.
That was a big leap real fast from a purely scientific community to just full on
Right?
embrace of like, what did our ancestors believe? Oh, that's got to be true.
So
That's
like
true.
I totally agree. Like it seems really fast, but then again, if you're trying to do this episode in 45 minutes, it's a pretty good way of doing it. Like
Yeah.
I thought they outlined
pacing
all of the
was pretty good. Like for
Mhm.
what the story they had to tell, it felt natural in like the conclusion of things.
Yeah,
conversation felt logical how they would come to this.
It felt
reasoning.
better paced than a lot of season 2 in general, where it's like, what's the point? What's the point? Get to the point at the end and deal with it for 5 minutes. This really spent the whole episode, the bulk of the episode, discussing the morality and seeing it play out very well when it's like, oh my God, we've broken the Prime Directive. Obviously, our whole reason for going there was to help the anthropologists who weren't trying to interfere. And now we're caught and now we have to deal with it. Picard actually like sentenced this guy to death when Crusher
Yeah.
brought him back because she said, I could bring him back. So he was going to die.
Yeah.
And Picard said, you were supposed to let him die because
Yeah.
Prime Directive.
Mhm.
And he's right.
Oh,
And
man.
you see a different side of Picard that is sort of cold-blooded, and I think it's really necessary. I love the solutions that he comes up with, and it's very much like you would throw this to a Star Trek Adventures party and be like, okay, how do you solve this problem? And I think this was a clever way of getting around it. Before though, I do have a note of when he gets zapped and like falls down. There's a moment of Crusher coming down the cliff, and I just go, Crusher's so cool, where she comes running in to like save him, and
Yep.
then none of this would have happened if Pulaski were still on board. Just
I
saying.
I
Oh,
noticed
yeah.
that.
Oh, well, he's dead. Okay, moving on.
Crusher's so
Uh-oh.
cool,
Let's
but she
phaser this
doesn't-
little girl that saw.
Yeah, she doesn't have that technique down that could have wiped the mind, that could have saved a lot of trouble.
Okay, well, the lysosome levels of these
Oh my God.
You're right.
Mintakan people are different.
It's true.
Could this
Yeah,
be a
it
little
was
questionable of like biological differences? I guess they're an alien race.
I feel like
So we're
Crusher could also
avoiding that.
just. I feel like Crusher also in like a professional way could just be like name a reason that it didn't work, and they'd have to believe her because
Yeah.
she's the chief medical
Yeah,
officer.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that
it's
they
always
subtly were
fun,
like, "Oh, I read Pulaski's book."
I love the little throwback.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was a great little nod to her, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was a reason why the procedure didn't work because they had used it before, but this was a different hand and, of course, the lysome levels.
Who did they use it before on? I don't remember them wiping. Oh,
It was.
I do remember referencing Men in Black.
They did wipe someone's memory in season 2. It was another one of these situations of
like a Prime Directive
Prime
thing.
Directive. Yeah. Let's see if we can come to it.
Then the new problem is got to go look for Dr. Palmer. He's the loose end. And immediately Riker's like, I have an idea. And I before we even get to the scene and the reveal, I go, oh, disguise.
Yeah.
I was so proud of myself. And then we see Riker and Troy in like full dressed as the natives do. As the prosthetics we've already talked about. But
With
I was
their
just
bedrolls and
Yeah.
their traveling gear.
Yeah.
Renaissance fair clothing.
And new problems of like assess a situation but can't do anything and can't say who you are.
I love this is such a cool acting exercise, and I think they both knocked it out of the park of like an actor pretending to be another person as a character. I think it's so cool, and you really feel for them. Of like, oh, you're trying.
Yeah, character playing a character. Love it.
Yeah.
They had a great shot when they first beamed onto the planet, and Troy was explaining the differences of the cultures and stuff, where you see the Vasquez rocks, and there's like this dolly shot as they walk through, and that was a great execution by the actors too, to get all that lines in that one shot where they showed the two most prominent rocks. Like I said, just looks a lot better this show. The little village set was really cool too. It didn't feel too like a set like season 2, like little village.
A little setty.
I mean, it still is TV. We're gonna see the cracks, but like,
I definitely think there was an indoor set. There was like another part where they would cut to, and it would be a stage somewhere.
Yeah, but like season 2 would have like off-color backgrounds and stuff like that. So like, this is a nice improvement. All right, we're like, there's so much still story to get to.
Right.
Oh, the memory thing was, I think, Pen Pals, where Data was friends with that little girl on the planet that was exploding with lava, and they wiped her memory.
That's right.
But Data still gave her a token to remember.
You won't remember anything, but remember nothing with this.
So maybe Pulaski wasn't as successful as
maybe
she
they
thought
founded
either.
a religion on her planet based on that little
God.
trinket he gave.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys think when they found Palmer and then Laika was all the Picard will be pleased. Did you think Riker must be really jealous that he's not the god?
What I kept thinking the whole time, I was like, why aren't they worshiping Crusher? I mean, he saw Crusher the whole time. Like, he only saw Picard for a second. But everyone, like, maybe she said his name, I think, when he was like, blah, blah,
That's true.
But I'm like, why isn't he treating her like the goddess?
Right, because it is a matriarchal society, which is awesome.
Right?
Also, she brought someone back to life, right? She sees people, he sees her treating things.
There was a chain of command that was evident as Picard was overseeing Crusher and Martinez in Medbay, though.
I can also see this being a wish fulfillment of a matriarchal society of like, the man is in charge.
Yeah.
This is heaven.
Yeah.
I know it.
It is possible. And well, that's really funny given the fact that like he spends the rest of the episode threatening to kill women to prove his devotion.
Yeah.
Like, what a monster he becomes very quickly.
Yeah.
There's a lot more levels to this episode than I think the writers intended.
So Palmer's found by the community, right? And they understand him to be a servant of Picard. They surmise that pretty quickly. And then Troy and Riker have just kind of fit in as like other members of this community now. And
welcome outsiders, come here.
And they
wait,
no questions.
oh, sorry to interrupt. There's a scene that we passed where Laika is doing sort of like the on a soapbox alien abduction guy, where he's like, I saw it. I know. I wouldn't believe me either, but it was real. It happened to me. And this is a fun other element of this episode is like, maybe this is part of the writing process. Okay, what if you were abducted by aliens, but we saw it from the alien side, which is the Enterprise.
Yeah, for sure. Like this is such an anthropological tale too. They only mention anthropology in the first teaser of this show, but like this is what real humans do now. There's humans observing. I mean, they're not doing it necessarily in secret, but there's like humans embedded with tribes where they can't interfere, where the tribes will fight and they just don't do anything about it. It's crazy to see how real this is. So the Troy and Riker pull an Ocean's 2 where Troy runs distraction and
Ocean's 2.
Riker ties up the old man and tries to haul that guy away, Palmer
But
away.
it starts with a clever, hey,
Here,
let me show you how to do a good knot. Then they don't show the struggle; it just cuts back, and the old man's tied up.
But
and he's
that's
like,
brilliant.
"Sorry,
You don't want to
dude."
see Riker manhandling this guy, and then also like that's a
Speak for
very
yourself. That's
dear
bonus
writers
content.
of season 3. My name is Xander Jeanneret.
Let me see it.
Why do you withhold?
footage from? So that doesn't quite fail because Riker does get away, but Troy unfortunately is captured, and they surmise that she is not quite who she says she is. Though they don't really know what her deal is, right? They never really name it. They just know that she
I
helps
think
them
that
get
she's
away.
a wandering one of them, though. She
Right.
doesn't realize she's part of the ship,
They
and
don't put that together.
if
Yeah.
I were Troy, I would say, actually, I'm from the Picard's place. I'm one of his, minions, and I can get you an audience with him to save her own ass. She never does that. She almost dies and is still trying to use reverse psychology on this guy. Like, do you think that's what Picard would want?
Right. Well, I mean, it's the not wanting to violate the Prime Directive
Yeah.
even more, and then showing because then if she reveals that the aliens could look like them, then it's a whole new panic of they could be any one of us.
Right.
There's a
But
whole lot of
there's the line when survival instinct kicks in,
Right.
And
so where's
never
the
happens
line
with the
between-
Enterprise crew. They're always too
between
noble.
duty and
Yeah, they're doing their job really well for the most part this episode, even though there's constant fuck ups happening.
That makes me think of a bigger thing that we've talked about as a potential problem with the series or difficulty as a writer, which is if all of your main characters are infallible and they don't have issues with each other, it becomes difficult to write for them. And it's interesting because if this were written today, you would have more fallible main characters, but Troy is dedicated to the Prime Directive above all else, as is everyone else.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking now too, if she had revealed that they can look like them, from the proto-Vulcan perspective, do we look like we have sunken heads?
Yes.
Right? their
Absolutely.
heads are all weird shaped. It's
And
like
they're
they
like-
Looks
didn't
like
get
it's
their
been under the
protrusion.
ocean and all of its curves have rubbed off.
It's
Right.
smooth like a chicken cutlet. Does it have a brain?
Oh,
So
God.
a religion is kind of founded, right? Picardism, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, me too. Sign me up.
I'll lead a crusade for Picardism.
Well, fundamentalism develops pretty quickly, and they just start eventually there's a storm that comes, and they declare that it's because of Picard. But they're trying to figure out what their life choices should be based on pleasing this person they just got a glimpse of, or one person got a glimpse of.
They get it completely wrong. They need to love France, hate children, and have a crush on Data. That's all that you need to be.
Yeah. I guess. Go ahead.
Can you guess what next scene made me cry?
Ooh.
What is it? The technology speech that we shouldn't call the technology speech when Picard introduces Nuria to the ship.
Before that.
When. Ooh, what was before that? There's a town square debate kind of about what they should do with Troy?
We could play this game all day. No, it's that scene with Picard and Nuria where he makes a decision.
Yeah.
But before he in the scene in which he says his plan, he has this great speech about because Riker's idea is, well, go down and give them commandments. Tell them you don't want them to murder Troy, and then they'll believe you because they think you're a god. And he's
Right.
like, me going down and playing God and giving these people commandments sends them back to the dark ages. I am not helping them. That is the exact opposite of the Prime Directive. And he's just so firm in his belief and knows right from wrong and is never wavering in that. And it's just so powerful that he's like, we cannot sacrifice their progress.
Wow.
I feel like if you had given me this script written out, there are a lot of boring speeches that say great things, but because Patrick Stewart is there giving life to these words and having this impassioned character, it just brings everything to life.
And it's all done in 45 minutes. Like, it's all
Right?
pretty impressive, the scope. Like, we kind of make fun of how their religion formed so fast, but also, like, they did it in terms of telling a complete story from the birth of this idea to the realization of what's really going on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay, but then I cried at the next speech with Nuria, where he
Yeah.
starts off with making her get up off the floor,
Right.
don't worship me, look me in the eyes, and then taking her hand and saying, feel my pulse.
What
I am
an
flesh and
interesting-
blood just like you, and one
Yeah.
day I will die just like you. I am not a god. And that was like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So real.
It was such a
Such a good
non-cliche way to introduce yourself too. Like, it was a really great humanizing. I mean, she's not human, but I'm using the word humanizing moment, right? It's like
Yeah.
trying to show that we are the same, and also like that his whole speech led to her, like, even though she kind of went back on this, like kind of concluding that I don't fear you anymore, and that's like such a fundamental thing to understanding another person is to not be scared of them and to realize that they are like you, right? I love that speech too. The bow and stuff.
Yeah.
And he has another great speech, which you've already referred to, Jake, and we should recap for people. But do you guys ever think about the fact that they definitely wouldn't speak English?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yes.
Well, it was the universal translator in their communicators. That's
Yeah,
how
that's
that
what-
works.
that's-
There's a-
Yeah,
How-
but it'd be kind of fun if they mentioned that. Just
Is there a field? Is that what you said?
There's a field that the communicator emanates. So when you visit another planet, if you're in that field, and then we can assume that the base that was already there was also translating too.
Yeah,
I love
think
that.
that's-
Around it.
Is that something that's actually canon that explain in future series?
I think so. They might go into it in Enterprise. I don't know what it is. No,
I
'cause
feel
they
like it.
used
Yeah,
to-
I feel like it's later on. It gets established to like make sense of all of the English-speaking foreign society.
Which is totally fine, and we can make that
Yeah.
leap.
Yeah.
But it is it's a cool spacey element if they
Right.
did want to deal with it. But I think they decided we only have 45 minutes, and we can't just always over-explain how we know what
Communication.
they're saying. Yeah.
For sure. So to be clear, Nuria gets beamed on board because they've decided that they need to convince somebody down there who is going to be able to believe what's going on, that won't be listening to fanaticism. So they choose, of course, the female leader. And Nuria gets
Yucky! Sorry.
no, every time you need to. Nuria gets beamed aboard, and Picard shares with her, the trajectory amongst the things Becca said, also the trajectory of his own civilization compared to hers, and says, we're not different. We're just further along on the same path.
Oh, but
Well-
we gotta pause and say how he cleverly
Yeah,
does it. Xander,
he
you
does
jump
it-
in.
Yeah, he does it in such a good way of having her make the realization, of explaining it via story and putting her in the position. Because we talk about this, have before, and we will talk about it again in all of these encounters with other species. It's this like matchup. Who is like quote unquote inferior or superior? Is it someone coming in with an attitude of superiority over somebody else? Or is it like a benevolent race that's reaching out to us, like on the other side of something else either? It's always this scale, and he does it in a way that convinces her or allows her to see the progression through the story herself.
I think that I mentioned QAnon a lot on this podcast, but I think it's because a lot of these episodes have to do with psychological manipulation. And I've read a couple articles about how to sort of bring people back from that dark place. And it has to do with like the best way to have someone see something through logic is to ask them questions that lead them to the logical conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't change a person's mind. They have to change it themselves.
Get them
Right.
to say statements they agree with until they realize that they're disagreeing with themselves.
Totally kind of off on tangent, but this was a campaign tactic that was used by the LGBT community when we were fighting for the rights for marriage. They would go door to door to people and just have them ask questions or get to know, because a lot of them had never even met a queer person before. And just that one interaction of like, hey, I am a man and I would like, here's my husband or my future husband, we would like to get married. And they're like, oh yeah, go ahead, why not? And they're like, well, you're actually voting against this. But if you quote unquote humanize it, if you give them an example and how it could relate to them or their nephew or their son or whatever, then the issue becomes something that they care about and they can relate.
Yeah.
Well, the
Wow,
question
that's great.
tactic too, I really appreciate that you mentioned, because like asking a person to justify their belief, if their belief is rational, they can justify it. But if it's not, then they have to verbally address that to you, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
that's the best thing to
unpack
do.
whatever that is.
Yeah, the many Facebook debates I had back in those days too, exactly about gay marriage, because I had friends who were against it, and I was like, "But why? What
Yeah.
is? How is this affecting you?" And like that
Right,
was the
right.
thing they really did struggle to answer, and I always considered at least that part of victory.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 I get it.
Oh, well, the answer is just faith. You just have to believe.
George Michael said that.
Well, speaking of where faith leads you, Liko
Fuck
decides.
George Michaels.
No.
I guess this is my firm belief. I
No,
won't
that's
budge
not what
on
the
it.
song means.
What?
Hashtag cancel George Michael, led by Becca Scott. She hasn't even heard the song.
Oh man, I guess he was a religious fundamentalist, and we never knew. Get out of my head. Gotta have it.
Oh, she knows
We
it.
don't have the rights.
Liko decides we need to punish this new girl if Picard shall be pleased. Don't know where he gets that conclusion, but
Yeah.
that's where you go.
Yeah.
And Picard makes
Ask Joan of Arc where they got that.
They don't know about her though.
Right.
But I get it. Well, she wasn't leading. Well, whatever. Anyway, Picard comes on down and introduces himself not as the overseer, but as a traveler from a faraway land, in order to stop, some of the violence that was about to occur when
Yeah.
a
Well,
rainstorm happened.
Nokia,
that-
what's her name? Yeah. Were you gonna say that she it seemed like she
Oh.
she got it?
Yeah, and then she
And then she
didn't.
says, "Oh my God, I totally get it. You're right. My people did live in caves. You're just further along in the timeline. I understand. We're gonna travel the sky someday." Line that made me cry. Oh, I have absolutely no doubt. And
Oh,
then
very
she's
good.
like, "But please just bring our dead people back to
Yeah,
life."
if you could,
No, lady.
No,
Yeah,
just go
that
to
was
the
sad.
replicator and bring them back. I know. I get it. It's technology, so bring them back.
I get it. You're fallible. You're alive, immortal. And
But luckily, we
quit
have
it?
a convenient death happening in sickbay, which is a rarity in this age. But here we go.
Yeah, especially when she just died from her injuries. It wasn't like a poisoning or like a weird alien amoeba or something like that.
She could have been 500 in Star Trek years, though, because she had
That's-
wrinkles. So
That's
we've
true.
established that that's like ancient.
She just also died of old age. She's like,
Yeah,
this is my
It
time.
was a combo.
So yes, we do. Sorry, we did skip that. So Nuria witnesses that they can't keep everybody alive and begins to understand. That's the best way to also. That's another great way to teach someone, is to just show them with evidence. Empiricism. That's a great.
Lots of show don't tell in this episode.
Yeah.
I cried for this one. This got me.
Yeah. The moment
Just
where
like the 1-2 punch, like they just keep the emotion, like the emotions keep hitting.
Yeah, we can cure diseases, we can repair injuries, we can extend life. But at the end of the day, we're still as mortal as you are. And we're powerless to prevent the inevitable.
Yeah.
it also was tough to watch, like her exclaim that maybe someday my civilization will be able to like ride in the stars. It's like, well, we can do it now, but we have to wait for you. That's so you're so. I want you to experience it now.
Right.
Yeah,
Prime Directive, okay?
but they got to live in the Bronze Age and deal with all that stuff first.
The hardest part is knowing that someone could have just given it to you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's like knowing that your technology could change. I forgot that she was going to ask for their lives back, but at first I was like, what would she ask for? It's like, just give us a jump start. Like, just teach us about fusion. And
Right.
I was like, no, of course, this is the best thing to ask for, is the resurrection of her people.
Right.
she doesn't
Something that's
understand.
way out of reach.
Mm-hmm. And I even got a little moved when he realizes that he hasn't reached her, that she can't change as easily. But Picard makes it down to stop Troy from being skewered, and he
Does
says
so
that
by
I'm a traveler.
sacrificing himself.
Well,
He's got a
yeah,
heart thing.
potentially. Yeah, he's got. He's a vulnerable member of the crew. But
You're a god. I'll prove it by trying to kill you.
well, that scene also doesn't leap straight there too. He does spend time trying to convince them, and I like every attempt that is made in this episode to really not take drastic action. Like the crew really goes out of their way to make sure we're gonna do our best to try and uphold the Prime Directive. We just This
Yeah.
this Lico guy won't shut up.
This is the scene I was talking about with Troy. This is the moment I would have said, "Okay, Uncle."
Yeah. You got me.
Yeah, especially when they know, right?
Right?
When the arrow is cocked.
Yeah. Knocked.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I call it cocked.
Oh.
Teach their own.
This actually, I had a little Trek, actually moment, because if the Mintakans are Proto-Vulcan and Romulan, their blood would be green. Thus, seeing Picard squirt out this red liquid, it would be disturbing and maybe not quite the lesson in mortality that he was hoping for.
Huh. I think if we saw it oozing green, we'd still think something's in pain.
Yeah.
That green's
That's
supposed to
true.
stay inside.
But I'm just saying,
Keep your green inside.
they could have done like a little, it's red or something like that, and I would have been happy.
Well, we
Just
don't
an
know
acknowledgement.
that they are
They have to be.
proto-Vulcan.
It has
They're not
to be.
Vulcan.
You're not telling me that the oxidation levels between the species changed so much that it went from green to red.
How does it change to green? It's
Like
blue
a
or red, isn't
human?
it? Based on oxygen.
Right.
Not if you're making up an alien species and
They
it's
got a
a
little
show and
chlorophyll
you
in
can make it be
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be.
Look at their little eyebrows. What is that? They're so weird. Their eyebrows aren't even pointed. They're so
Yeah.
tiny.
And their flat foreheads.
Really great episode. I'd say it was one of my favorites that I don't have a better episode than this. The introduction of the Borg was pretty cool, but this I would say was like a great foundational episode, and one I also would agree people should watch as like you want to get what Star Trek's about, watch this one. I agree.
And Pamela Adlon super fans, get on it.
So like I was watching and I recognized Ray Wise first because her makeup is so different. She's so young too. And I was like looking it up and then I was like, wait, Pamela Adlon's in this? That's crazy. So yeah, that's Who Watches the Watchers, episode 304. Great one. But next episode we have I didn't write down what it's called. Oh, it's called The Bonding. Where
There's
Worf
bondage.
What?
Nothing.
I'm about to describe a plot that should not have to do with bondage because Worf fosters the child of a slain subordinate, but the child is having trouble accepting his mother's death, especially when she mysteriously reappears.
And that's when they get into bondage?
So until next time, into
Engage.
bondage.
Oh.
I could do engage instead.
Yeah.
Engage.
Engage.
Engage. Wait, what are we doing? Bye.
Bye.